I asked you earlier how many pasukim there are in the entire Torah, and you said, well, you didn't know, 5,845. You can remember that, right? Monty people, fabulous. Okay, so that's how many there are. And then we said the Vilna Gaon says you can look at each pasuk, and the pasuk that reflects that connects to that particular year, reflects what's going on in the world. All right? What would you do if I told you that I found the pasukim that correspond to the last 5 years? It's not difficult to do. It took me like an hour or so, and I numbered it, and I found the exact pasukim. And what if I told you that last year's pasuk, but anyone know which parsha we're in? So obviously we're near the end of the Torah, because there's 5845 of the Torah. We're 5786. So we're definitely near the end of the Torah. So that means the pasukim that correspond to this year, last year, next year, and going on is Parshas. And I'll take a guess. Who said that? What did you say? Haazinu. Very good. Fabulous. A special prize for that young lady over there. Haazinu is correct. We're in Parshas Haazinu. You're following me? Haazinu is a song. It's all about music. It's a poem. But a big chunk of it talks about the challenges the Jewish people are going to have to go through at the end of days. Pretty apropos. And I'm going to read to you last year's pasuk, that is 5785. That's 2025. And the first word in the pasuk is Hamas. Interesting. Hamas taninim yemam. That serpent's venom is their wine. We're going to be dealing with very snaky people, say the rabbis. V'rosh petanim achzar, who are very, very cruel. So it has the word Hamas in it, which is pretty wild, yeah? I mean, talking about prophecy in the Torah. And where do snakes live? Underground, in tunnels. And that's what we're going to be dealing with, say the rabbis. I will mention, this is a whole topic in and of itself. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm saying a lot to you, I understand. Whatever I download. As a side point, we know there's going to be a great war that the prophet Ezekiel and Zechariah speak about right before Mashiach comes. And all of you have heard of this, but you know nothing about it, because it's not really discussed in yeshiva for some very weird reason. It is called the War of Gog and Magog. You heard of it before? You've heard of it, but you have no idea what it is, right? So Gog and Magog is actually a final battle between good and evil, and Mashiach's job, not only is his job, it's the proof that he is Mashiach, is going to come forward and have to fight these battles. Now, we don't know who these nations that make up Gog and Magog are. One opinion is it's actually the entire world. Right before Mashiach comes, the entire world is going to stand and blame and hate the Jewish people. Sound familiar, right? And they're going to come against us. That's why the gematria, the numerical value of Gog and Magog, is 70. And there are 70 core nations in the entire world. So we're going to have to stand against the United Nations, that's 70 of them, and basically try very hard to fight them off. I know it's frightening what you're seeing in the world, all the anti-Semitism, but it was all predicted. It's all from Hashem. And we're dealing with it right now. And actually the verses in Ezekiel tell us the names of the nations that make up Gog and Magog. Now, most of them we don't know who they are. Right? There's Cush and there's we don't know who they are, these nations. They exist, but we're not sure who they are today. But we do know who one of them is. Because there's one nation, it's actually the first nation that's mentioned, that represents the head of Gog and Magog. And that is Paras, Persia, modern-day Iran. It's right there. I'm not making it up, in black and white. You look inside. The prophet speaks about it and says at the end of days, these nations, Gog and Magog, are going to come and we're going to face a challenge, says the prophet. And Paras is going to be number one. It's all from me, says Hashem. That's why it's in the prophets. If it wasn't from Hashem, he wouldn't have to put it in there. You should know that what we're dealing with has been spoken about for thousands of years, and this is what's happening right now. So that was last year, Hamas. What's very interesting is 2 years ago, the word Hisgiram, we were closed away. They were hidden away and hidden. Hisgiram. The Jewish people would have to suffer hiding away. This year, which started a couple of weeks ago, not even, a few days ago, is unbelievable. And I'm going to read you the pasuk, and it's what's called a bitmiyah pasuk. Anyone know what a bitmiyah pasuk is? Basic English means a rhetorical question. It's a question you're not meant to answer, which is most questions in high school today. But it's a question, and it's left as a question to make you think. And this year's pasuk, which is 5786. But you following? Yeah, you give me a little bit of affirmation. Thank you. This pasuk is Halo hu kamus imodi. Is it not revealed with me? Chatum b'tzaratai. There's something hidden away in my treasury. So the response to the past few verses, actually more than a few, which talk about all the challenges we happen to have gone through for the past few years, whether it corresponds to these years or not, I believe it does. According to the Vilna Gaon, it definitely does. This year's pasuk, unlike the last ones that all speak about very difficulties and challenges and dealing with snake-like people who hide away and want to bite you and cause a lot of trouble. I mean, it takes us back to the snake in Gan Eden, which epitomizes the Yetzer Hara, the Satan. This pasuk that started this year is all about something saying, don't worry. I have something very, very special, and it's in my treasure house. That's what he's saying. That's Peshat in the pasuk. Well, what's that? What does Hashem say? Don't worry. I know you've been through so much in the past few years, and all of the challenges Moshe Rabbeinu is saying. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's last day of life, right? He's talking to them on Zion Adar. He's about to die. Your final words of a person on their deathbed need to be listened to. You know what I'm saying? It's big stuff. So for the past few verses, he's like, yeah, I know you've been through a lot of stuff and dealing with challenges and nations who want to kill you, but don't worry, Hashem has got something in his treasure house. Anybody? What has Hashem got in his treasure house? If you think Hashem has something in a treasure house, what does he keep in it? Jewels, gems? No, I'll take an answer, because I don't know. And I looked through commentaries, I couldn't find anything. Except one thing. I found one thing. It's actually a mitzvah that is described as a treasure that Hashem keeps in his Bet Ginzi, in his treasure house. Yeah, if you get this right, I'm going to be so impressed. Boof! Wow. That was great. You know that Chazal? Very good. I didn't know in middle school. Kol hakavod to you. What year are you in?
What year am I in?
You're which grade? Ninth grade. I have a son in ninth grade. Believe me, he does not know that Gemara. You're absolutely right. Hashem, I think your teachers didn't know that either, but don't say anything, yeah. Hashem has something in his treasure house, and that is Shabbat. Shabbat is the most precious thing that we have. Now, I'm not just saying because, hey, we're Jewish, got to keep Shabbat. Let me tell you something really important that you've got to know, which most of you did not know. Maybe you did. Each mitzvah has a purpose. And we do mitzvah because Hashem says so. But they have certain powers that come with them. Shabbat has something very unique about it. And that is, it is a Haganah. It has a protective quality. Listen very carefully. It has a protective quality to it. When I say that, I mean physically. And it goes back, says Rav Yonasan Eibeshitz, who was this incredible thinking rabbi from a number of years ago. And he says, the Jewish people were given Shabbat. And one of the first Shabbats that we had was broken. Someone broke Shabbat. One person. The Jewish people didn't complain about it, and he was punished for what he did. But right afterwards, we're attacked by Amalek. Now, if you look at those two stories in the Torah, you think, okay, we broke Shabbat, and it happens to be right afterwards we got attacked by this terrible nation called Amalek that we're still dealing with today. They're still out there. More about them in a second, because they're also going to have a major part of the Messianic redemption. One of the jobs of Mashiach is also to wipe out Amalek. And so we're like, whatever, we broke Shabbat, and then Amalek came. He says, no, when two things appear next to each other in the Torah, they are connected, they are related. And the fact that Amalek came at that moment is because he broke Shabbat. Because Shabbat is the ultimate Haganah, protection for the Jewish people. And therefore, if you want to enjoy whatever's in Hashem's treasure house, you've got to factor Shabbat into it. And that may mean just keeping Shabbat if you don't already, but learning the laws of Shabbat that I teach at Stone College every year. I try to go through all the relevant malachot, understanding, getting more out of your Shabbat. There's always room for improvement. What we say on Shabbat, what we shouldn't say, how we enjoy it, are we utilizing it as best as we can? There's so much tucked into that mitzvah. But most importantly, as he says, that if you want to protect our nation physically, here in Chutz La'aretz or in Eretz Yisrael, Shabbat